This was not to happen. The chromosphere was to be ours. Now all we have is a pile of debris. You, General, are to blame.
He failed to deactivate the radar centers. I believe he is aware of the punishment.
Take him out and shoot him. Get him out of my sight.
Comrade Stalin, the General is not responsible for the destruction of the chromosphere. I personally monitored his actions.
And who then would be to blame? Clearly, the General is at fault.
Niet, comrade. It was you who failed in your actions. You did not inform the General of the other Allied transmitter that was nearby.
Is this true, Kuko? Was there a fourth transmitter?
We did not notice it on the first pass, but yes.
You disappoint me, Kukov. If the chronosphere is not to be ours, then let it be buried with the remains of the Allied dogs. Where are they? Nadia, where's their base of operations located?
We have traced Einstein's signal. He has moved to the coast of England. It must be the center of the command.
General, consider this your redemption. You are to lead the attack on the Allied headquarters. Level it! Destroy forever all traces of the Alliance.
Comrade Commander...
Continue! Comrade. And you will find yourself on the floor with Kukov. Assemble a strike team! A continental Soviet Union is our destiny!
Yes, sir. Acknowledge. Reporting. Affirmative. Unit lost. Affirmative. Vehicle report. Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledge. Report. Acknowledge.
Construction options.
Reporting. Acknowledge. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Acknowledge.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Lost. Base
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledge.
Construction complete. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Construction
Acknowledge.
options.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledge. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledge. 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 Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Construction complete. New construction options.
Yes, sir. Acknowledge.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledge. Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Construction
Acknowledge.
complete. Building.
Vehicle reporting. Acknowledge. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Repairing. Silos
Yes, sir.
needed.
Affirmative.
Construction complete. New construction options.
Report
Building.
acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Building.
Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Building. Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack. New construction options.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Very well.
Building.
Very well. Agreed. Very well.
Building.
At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. At once. Agreed.
Construction complete. Repairing.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. New construction options.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building. Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. Repairing. Building. Unit ready. Building. Our base is under attack.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Unit ready.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Construction complete. New construction
Vehicle
options.
report. Acknowledged.
Our base
Yes,
is
sir.
under attack.
Yes, sir.
Repairing. Training. Unit ready. Preparing.
Acknowledged. Agreed. Agreed.
Preparing. Preparing. Unit prepared. Preparing.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Building.
Vehicle report.
Base
Affirmative.
is under attack.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Preparing. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Construction complete. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Acknowledged.
Repairing. New construction options. Building. Unit lost.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack.
Acknowledged.
Repairing. Unit lost.
Comrade, acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Reporting. Agreed.
Building. Our base is under attack.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Construction complete. Repairing. Repairing. Building.
Yes, sir.
Our
At once.
base
Yes,
is
sir.
under attack.
Affirmative. At once.
Building.
Reporting. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction complete.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Waiting order. Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir.
Unit repaired. Construction complete. New construction options. Building. Unit ready. Building.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Report. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. Repairing.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Unit repaired.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Silos needed. Building. Repairing. Unit ready.
Waiting
Building.
acknowledged. Affirmative.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete. Silos
Affirmative.
needed.
Acknowledged.
Unit repaired.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Construction complete.
Affirmative.
Silos needed.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Unit ready.
Awaiting
Building.
orders. Affirmative.
Report. Affirmative. Yes,
Base
affirmative.
is under attack.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Select target. Unit lost. Unit ready. Building. Repairing. Building.
Vehicle acknowledged. Awaiting acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Silence
Affirmative.
needed.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit ready. Building. Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit repaired. Unit
Reporting.
lost.
Affirmative.
Building. Our base is under attack. Repairing. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Comrade, acknowledged.
Construction complete. Spike lane ready. Repairing. Select target. Reinforcements
Yes, sir.
have arrived. Unit
Affirmative.
prepared. Our base
Acknowledged.
is under attack.
Acknowledged.
Select target. Repairing. Unit lost. Low power.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Vehicle affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Construction
Affirmative.
complete. Unit lost. Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Waiting. Affirmative.
Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Waiting orders. Affirmative.
Building.
Vehicle acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Our base is under attack. Construction complete. Building.
Affirmative.
Unit lost. Repairing. Repairing.
Waiting order. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Vehicle
Yes, sir.
reporting.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Spike lane ready.
Reporting. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting. Yes, sir.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Base is under attack. Select target.
Reporting. Affirmative. Of course. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Repairing. Unit ready. Building. Repairing. Unit repaired. Building.
Yes, sir. Waiting order. Comrade, acknowledged.
Construction
Yes, sir.
complete.
Acknowledged.
Building. Construction complete. Unit ready. Building. Repairing. Select target. Construction complete. Unit repaired. New construction options. Building. Unit lost. Unit ready.
Vehicle acknowledged. Affirmative.
Spike lane ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Our base is under
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
attack. Construction complete.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Yes, Yes, sir. Of course. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Very well. At once. Affirmative.
Comrade, affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Repairing. Repairing. Unit ready. Building.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Unit repaired. Repairing. Unit ready. Building. Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative, comrade. Affirmative.
Building. Construction complete.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Repairing. Unit
Awaiting
repaired.
orders. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Unit ready.
At once.
Building.
Very well. Very well. Yes, sir. At
Unit
once.
ready.
Agreed.
Building. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Select target.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete. Unit ready. Insufficient funds.
Yes,
Unit
sir.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Comrade, acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete.
Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Building.
Comrade, acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Preparing. Preparing. Building. Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit ready.
Awaiting
Building.
orders. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Naval unit
Affirmative.
lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit lost. Unit
Waiting
lost.
order once.
Construction complete. Our base is under attack.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. At
Unit
once.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Base
Acknowledged.
is under attack.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Ready.
Affirmative.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Prepare. Select target. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Reporting.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Acknowledged.
Repairing. Unit repaired. Unit ready. Unit repaired. Insufficient funds. Repairing.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Acknowledged.
Repairing. Unit repaired.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Select target.
Waiting
Affirmative.
order.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building. Repairing. Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Select target.
Comrade.
Reinforcements have
Acknowledged.
arrived.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Repairing.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Unit repaired.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Our base is under attack. Repairing. Unit ready.
Agreed. Affirmative.
Building.
Course. Affirmative.
Building. Insufficient funds.
Reporting. Of course. Yes, sir. Very well. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Comrade. Affirmative.
Spy plane
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Repairing.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient
Acknowledged.
funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Repair.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Comrade.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready.
Acknowledged.
Building. Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Repairing.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit repaired.
Agreed. Very well. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Building. Construction complete. Spy plane
Vehicle
ready.
reporting. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Our base is under attack.
Vehicle reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Repairing. Repairing. Our base is under attack.
Ready and waiting. Of course. Awaiting orders once. Yes, sir. At once. Yes, sir. Of course. Yes, sir. At once. Agreed.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Repairing. Insufficient funds. Repairing. Repairing. Insufficient funds. Repairing. Spy plane ready. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Unit repaired.
Very well.
Waiting. Affirmative. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Reporting. Very well.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Comrade. Acknowledged.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost. Our base is under attack. Prepare. Select target. Prepare. Repairing. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds. Unit lost. Repairing.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Comrade. Reporting. Affirmative.
Unit repaired. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Waiting order. Reporting. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Repairing.
Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Agreed. Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Awaiting orders. At once. Very well.
Spy plane. ready.
Affirmative. Very well. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building. Construction complete. Select target. Received. Unit ready. Building.
Comrade. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Building. Construction complete. Unit ready. Building.
Waiting order. Acknowledged.
Construction options.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Vehicle report. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Spy plane ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Comrade. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Base is under
Acknowledged.
attack.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Prepare.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes, sir.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Select target. Select target.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready. Select target. Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Select target. Unit ready. Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Ready. Select target.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Comrade. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Reporting.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Waiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Report acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Comrade, affirmative.
Reporting at once. Very well. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Comrade, acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
At once.
Spy plane ready.
Very well.
Select target.
Reporting. Affirmative.
Comrade,
Unit
affirmative.
lost. Unit lost.
Vehicle report. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Affirmative.
Preparing. Unit ready.
Reporting.
Building.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Ready and waiting. Agreed.
Unit repaired.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready. Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Ready and waiting. At once.
Unit
Of course.
ready. Building.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Comrade,
Spy plane
Acknowledged.
ready.
Acknowledged.
waiting order. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target.
Reporting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Affirmative.
Building.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit
Ready
ready.
and waiting.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Waiting orders.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Building. Select target.
Yes, sir.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir.
Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Unit
Affirmative.
ready.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Awaiting affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target.
Comrade. Comrade.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Select target. Unit ready.
Reporting.
Building.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Waiting order. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Report acknowledged.
Lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
ready. Building. Unit lost. Spy plane ready.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Saved.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Waiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds. Building.
Yes, sir.
Our base is
Affirmative.
under attack.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Preparing.
Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Vehicle reporting.
Construction
Acknowledged.
complete. Preparing. Building. Insufficient
Reporting.
funds.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Yes, sir.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Vehicle
Insufficient
reporting.
funds.
Acknowledged.
Select target. Construction complete. Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Report acknowledged.
Repairing. Insufficient funds. Repairing.
Report affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Comrade, affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Insufficient
Affirmative.
funds.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Spy plane
Affirmative.
ready. Select target.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Naval unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit ready.
Acknowledged.
Building.
Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost. Naval
Acknowledged.
unit lost.
Acknowledged.
Unit
Affirmative.
lost. Our base
Acknowledged.
is under attack.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Preparing. Preparing. Preparing.
Awaiting orders. Acknowledged.
Naval unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Preparing. Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building. Unit
Yes, sir.
lost.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Vehicle affirmative.
Our base is under attack.
Reporting. Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Preparing.
Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Prepare.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir.
Insufficient funds.
Affirmative. Reporting.
Preparing.
Ready and waiting. Very well.
Unit prepared.
Of course. Yes, sir. Of course. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Spy plane ready.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target. Insufficient funds. Unit ready. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Vehicle acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Reporting. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready. Select target.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Reporting. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Agreed. Affirmative. At once. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Affirmative.
Select target. Spy plane ready.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Very well. Very well. Affirmative. Very well. Yes, sir. At once. At
Unit
once.
lost.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Affirmative.
Unit
At
lost.
once. Affirmative. At
Unit
once.
lost.
Affirmative.
Unit
Very well.
lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Acknowledged.
Insufficient funds.
Acknowledged.
On hold. Cancel. Building. On hold.
Acknowledged.
Cancel.
Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Spy plane ready.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Acknowledged.
Unit
Acknowledged.
lost.
Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Unit lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Reporting.
Unit lost.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Lost.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged.
Lost.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Ready and waiting. Affirmative. Acknowledge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Agreed. Very well. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. 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 Acknowledged. Affirmative. Comrade. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Waiting order. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Comrade. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target.
Reporting. Very well. Affirmative. Vehicle report. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Awaiting orders. Affirmative.
Yes, sir.
Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged once. Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Vehicle reporting.
Unit lost.
Awaiting orders. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Vehicle report. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Comrade. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Building.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Reporting. Agreed. At once. Affirmative. At once. Affirmative. At once. At once. Affirmative. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very well. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Very well. Very well.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative.
Select target. Reinforcements have arrived.
Waiting order. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Acknowledged. Acknowledged.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Awaiting orders. At once. At once. At once. Agreed. Yes, sir. Vehicle acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Acknowledged. 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 Reporting. At once. At once. Of course. Very well. Affirmative. At once. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Acknowledged. Reporting. Affirmative. Of course. Vehicle reporting. Acknowledged. Yes, sir. Very well. Very well. Of course. Awaiting orders. Acknowledged. At once.
Mission accomplished.
Amazing, these English, how quickly they adapt. They must truly have been crying out for our victory. They have abandoned their old rulers faster than rats, leading a sinking ship. We have done what no one else has dared. The Soviet Union stretches across the entire continent. We have liberated Europe at last. It's time to celebrate. See? Well, why not? When in Rome. Excellent. General, you have covered yourself in great honor. I will see to it personally that you are very well taken care of. Nadia, this tea is truly excellent.
Thank you. I prepared it myself.
poison. You bitch.
You bastard pig! You will never touch me with your filthy hands again! Well, General, this temporary chaos in Europe will only help to fuel the Brotherhood's cause. For centuries we have waited to emerge from the shadows, and now we will make ourselves known. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and took up residence in the land of Nod. You have done well to serve us, and for that, you should be rewarded. We estimate that the Brotherhood will tire of the USSR in the early 1990s. Until then, you will keep the peace. Fight our battles where you must, and you'll remain our loyal and obedient servant for the foreseeable future.
The foreseeable future. Comrade Chairman, I am the future.